Autodesk Inventor, working with iFeatures. iFeatures are used for geometry that is kind of complex, like these ORB ports here that I put on this bar manifold. So we're going to use iFeatures. I'm going to show you how those work. Now, this is a little more of a complex part, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do one part of it at a time, jumping back and forth. So the first thing that I want to do is just get my basic cube out here, my block. It's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches by 4 inches. So into Inventor, click on New, double click on Part, go to a box, XY axis, 1.5, tab, 1.5, enter, 4 inches long, enter, and there's my basic box, right? All right. Now, I'm going to go in and put a hole on the side of this, but if you looked at that drawing closely, you'd see that that hole was actually offset a little bit. So if I look at this, you can see it's sitting back off that surface a little bit. So the holes, the porting, they're on this face over here, and it's sitting back a little bit. So it's setting back 7/8 of an inch, and the diameter of the hole going all the way through is 1/2 inch. Okay, so we go back over to our drawing. I tell it to sketch on this surface. I put a center point on there, right? I come off the center line here and I come back. I tell it that I want the distance from the face where I'm putting the ports to this right here was 875 thousandths, which is 7/8 of an inch. Tell it that I'm okay with that. I go up to my hole command. I tell it that I want the hole to be 1/2 inch in diameter, and I want it to go through all of it. So you can see there, I'm going to change my view style here so that you can see that. There, view style right here. I'm going to show that hidden edges. It may not show up in the video very well, but you can kind of faintly see it going through there. Now I'm going to do all my iFeatures all at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and put all my holes in this first. I could do the iFeatures right now if I wanted, but it'll just save me a little bit of jumping around here. The next thing that I want to do is I want to put these holes in here, and on these holes they are again a 1/2 inch diameter hole, and they are 7/8 of an inch deep, 875 thousandths, and this one's located 1 1/4 inches over, and this one's located 2 3/4 inches over. So let me see what I can do there. Okay, I tell it that I want to do a sketch on this face. Tell it to zoom everything here, and I put a point here, and I put a point here, and I can check to see if they are centered up, right? So I can go and say from here to here should be a dimension of 1.5 divided by 2, and sure enough it was on there. And then I can also say make sure that I am on the same level there. Put a dimension on to say come over from here 1 1/4 inch. And this one here, do you remember what that one was? This one here was set to 2 3/4 inches. So I've got my 2 holes in there, right? Let's make sure I've got those dimensions correct for placing those. So one of them was at 2 3/4, the other one was at 1 1/4. So 1 1/4 and 2 3/4, we're good. Okay. Go to the hole command, and these are set already for 1/2 inch, but we don't want to go through, right? We want a distance. Do you remember what that distance was? That distance that we wanted to go was not 1 inch, it was 0.875. So I click on that and say OK. If I look at the top of this, I can see, I believe, turn this, I'll change it to a wireframe view with hidden edges. You can see there it is coming together, right? Passageway, the porting on there. Go back to my home view. I need to put those ORB ports on there. ORB ports. These are going to be done with iFeatures. Let me show you that. Right now I'm in the 3D modeling tab. I'm going to move over to the Manage tab. And in the Manage tab, I have an icon here that says Insert an iFeature. I am in my ORB porting iFeatures, and it shows all the different ORB ports. These were made by somebody else for the Fluid Power program. They were actually using them in industry and shared them with us. So I'm going to make this a -6. So I'm going to click on a standard -6 port, and I'm going to click Open. Now, it's giving me some errors. This goes back to our very first video that we talked about building projects. Everything that you've been doing has been automatically saving to that project. This is saying this is not in the location where your project is. It's not a problem. It's going to embed it in the part. So I'm just going to say yes. This is more of saying, are you really sure you want to do this? And I'm going to say yes, I'm sure I want to do this. So I come over here and it gives me this port that I can go in there and put on. I'm going to put it on this end here first. So I just click it on the surface that I want to be on. And then I go up here to my dialog box. I'm going to click Next. I don't want to make any adjustments on the information here. I go Next. And then I tell it I want to activate this in a sketch immediately. And if you don't do this, you're going to regret it. You want to go into the sketch first. I click on Finish, and it shows me some geometry here. These two should be lined up with each other. I'm going to use the concentric constraint and say, take this and constrain together. And it automatically puts them together. The nice thing is if I move that original hole, it will move the ORB port with it. If I don't constrain it, they won't move together. All right, let's go get the one on the other end here. So where did I go? iFeatures. It's automatically going to the last iFeature I used. I go, sure, that's what I want. I know it's not in the correct directory that I'm using. It'll still work. I click on that face. I click Next, Next, activate into a sketch immediately, Finish, go up to make it concentric, tell it Finish. There we go. I now have two more to go, right? I click on Next, and I click on that. You get it? I know that. Okay. I put it on this face. Now, this is really important. If I had a third port and it was right in the center here, I don't want to fill that center position first. I want to fill the outside edges first, because once I put that in there, it's going to get confused, and you put the port on there and it's going to say, there's nothing there to do. The material's already gone. So I'm going to go and say Next, Next, activate in the sketch mode, Finish. Go to constrain it here and say go here to here. Put it on there, go Finished. There we go. And then I go iFeature, and that's the one I want to use. I got it. I know it's annoying. We put it on here. We go Next, Next, activate in the sketch, Finish, and then we constrain it so they're concentric. There we go. Finished. Almost done, right? We've got to put those fasteners or the places through there to mount this. We should never build manifolds without having a way to mount it to a surface. So I'm going to go back over to the drawing and see what's going on there. Those are all located 1/4 of an inch off each corner. Okay, that should be pretty easy. So I come back in here. I'm going to get my part back in the home position. Go back over to my 3D model tools. Tell it to do a 2-dimensional sketch. Click on that surface. Tell it, come on, line up in here a little bit better. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Use my constraint tool and say this. And this should be on the same as well as this, and this should be on the same horizontal. Then I go to vertical and say this one, and this one should be lined up, and this one should be lined up. Put my dimensions on, showing that I'm going to be, what was that, 1/4 of an inch down, right? 0.25, and 1/4 of an inch over from this surface, 0.25, and it's automatically starting to position things here. If I go to my diagonal corner, it's going to line everything up by just putting in a couple dimensions here, 0.25, 1/4 of an inch, and then go from here to here, and go 1/4 of an inch. All 4 of those are now lined up by just dimensioning 2 of the 4. I click Finish. I go to my hole command. On my hole command, I want a through hole. I want it with a counter bore, and I'm thinking that this is all a little bit large here. I know that this one for that fastener, let's see what the callouts say in the drawing. It says from the drawing that these are 196 thousandths through. So the through hole's 196. Let me go over there and get that. So my through hole here, this diameter should be 0.196. That is a standard drill size. I could look it up, and then I say that the diameter of the counter bore is 3/8 of an inch. So I go in here, that is 3/8 of an inch. And then it says that the depth on it is 190 thousandths. This is where having 2 monitors, you guys, makes it real nice. But on doing these recordings, I do have 2 monitors, but it doesn't help you guys see what's going on. So there we go, 190 thousandths deep. I click OK. And this part, did I tell it to go all the way through? I didn't, did I? Watch this. I'm going to double click on that feature and tell it through all. There we go. Now it's through all. I click on the house, reposition that, tell it to go into the wireframe. I can see there's my manifold. Okay. This is a pretty simple manifold compared to what we're going to be working with in our manifold design class. So let me go back up here to shaded. There we go. Okay. All right, we're done with that one.